second. So I think we're up here. Hi guys, say hi. I miss you guys a lot. So if you can interact with me at all, and obviously not while we're practicing, but unless there's a problem. If there's a problem, then feel free to shout and holler at me. Or I'm not sure how you shout on this. Maybe little emojis that jump up and down or something. So yeah, today we're gonna start seated. Let me back up a second so I'm not doing this weird thing on both PCs here. We're going to do fun stuff, right? So try and suspend a little bit of what you think you know about what you can or cannot do. So maybe if you have them, grab a block and a pillow, right? And it can be any old pillow. You can grab one off your bed, right? No one's seeing. You don't have to have anything fancy, right? This is off my couch. So it's just going to kind of sit in front of your mat, out of your way. If you have a block, great. If you don't have a block, grab a book, right? You can maybe, depending on the size of the pillow, you can use a pillow for your block. But something a little bit more firm will be a little bit easier. And if you don't have one, don't panic. You can still do everything that we're going to do, right? So just a couple of, let me close that door so it's not super noisy. I know my husband's got chores today, so. So we've got this really super cool old boat in the back that he's turning into a fountain, which I'm really excited about. But so a couple of business things. If you are interested in the inversion workshop and I haven't heard from you yet, please let me know so I've got your email, because I'm going to send out another email on that today at some point. I forgot. I was going to say some other stuff and now I don't remember. So back to what we're doing today. Like I said, approach this with a little bit of playfulness, right? Depending on where you are in your practice, you'll think I can or cannot do something. Let it be more about what your body is telling you you can or cannot do, right? So if your body says no, the answer is no. But sometimes the brain goes, I don't know, I'm kind of scared to do that, right? Try not to let your brain decide what your body can do, right? So let that suspend that part of what your brain does, right? And just kind of go with where your body ends up, right? Because you never know, right? You never know where you're gonna end up. So let me fix quick the angle on this camera because that's not where I want it. And it looked really dark and weird. So, all right. So I think that will do. Let me move back a little bit. All right. Well, angle this a bit too. Hi, Stacy, Anne Marie, Jerry. Cool, you doing yoga, Jerry? Come on. All right, who's on YouTube? Oh, you guys probably can't do a whole lot of that on YouTube, huh? If you're on your TV. All right, so yeah, let's go ahead and get rolling. You're a little crooked there. Everybody hear me okay? On, say hi. All right, cool. All right, excellent. So let's come to sit. And if you want to sit on your pillow, there it is, or your block. It's too far away from me right now. You can absolutely do that. Sometimes it makes it a little bit easier to sit up tall. Right? When you talk about the pelvis being aligned, we're going to work here for a little while. So make sure that you stay upright and tall on your pelvis and with your spine for sure. So if the props work, use them, absolutely. If not, they're going to go away. So take inner thigh rotation. And we want to, again, make sure that the pelvis is upright. So if you need to hang on, hang on. Lift the pelvic floor, Pull the lower belly in and up and sit tall through your sides here, nice engaged into the middle. And this is where we want to stay with this part of our body pretty much the whole time we're here on the mat. Well, the first part of the practice anyway. Relax your hips, relax your shoulders. Go ahead and close your eyes. And just take a moment and check in with your body and notice how you're feeling. Notice what feels good. Notice the areas that you may need to pay a little bit of special attention to. Going just far enough in poses to get the benefit without going too far so that you're sore and grumpy about it the next day. And then allow your awareness to settle on your breath. And without doing anything about it, just simply observe what's going on with your breath. Breathing all through the nose. Begin to expand into your breath. So take your inhales a little bigger. Exhaling a little bit more completely. And gradually find a breath that is just beyond comfortable. Feeling just that little bit of work, a little bit of stretch even for your breath. And then keep that idea no matter what else does or does not happen. Right? So if you sit and consciously breathe for an hour, you are practicing yoga. And I know that's not why you came here today. So let's go ahead and extend the arms out to the sides. And with the next inhale, stretch them up toward the ceiling. Exhale, bring them back down again. And then we'll do that again. Inhaling up. Exhaling back down. One more time like that. So just letting the arms reflect the breath. And then with the next inhale, come back up to the top again. This time, exhale just your right hand back to the mat. Give yourself a little tip over to that right side. Keep the pelvis upright, the spine nice and tall. And with the next inhale, bring yourself back to center. And we'll switch, taking it over to the left. Inhaling, bring yourself up to the middle again. And then go back over to the right, exhale. Take a nice big breath here. See if you can extend out through the crown of your head. And then as you exhale, sink a little deeper into that stretch. Inhale, come on back to the center. And then exhale, take it over to the left, same idea. So the pelvis is still rooted, the spine is still tall. We use the breath to move in a little bit deeper. And then we come back up to the middle again. Exhale, release your arms. So let's go ahead and take the left hand over to the right knee and the right hand behind your body here. A little baby twist over to the right, making sure the pelvis is still upright, your spine is tall. And don't necessarily worry about how deep the twist is just yet. We'll move deeper. Notice where in your spine you move the most. And then let's come back to the middle and do the same thing over to the second side. Relax into the hips and shoulders as much as you can here. Full breaths. And then back to center. Let's take that first side again moving into our little bit deeper position. Use your right arm like a second spine. So nice and close to your body, you're gonna push into it to sit a little taller. And then pulling with the hand against the right knee here, imagine rotating your belly button around to the right. Rotating your right side ribs more toward the back of your mat. Drawing the right shoulder back. You can even look over the shoulder. Look as far in the opposite direction as you can see. Keep the spine long, those big full breaths flowing. And then release that back to the middle again. Take it to the second side. So use your arms. Keep that spine really tall. And rotate around as evenly as you can, all the way up the spine. All the way into the eyeballs. Let's release that. Come on back to the middle. And then take the hands to the knees. Using your breath here, inhale, draw your shoulder blades together on your back and lift your chest up toward the ceiling, creating space. Exhale, round through your spine. Tuck your chin down toward your belly button. And then move between those two positions. So inhale as you lift, keep lots of length in the back of your neck especially, and then release, exhaling, curling over. So let's do just a few more like that. And kind of like with the twist, notice where in your spine moves very freely and where is maybe a little bit more stuck. See if you can dig into those tight spots. Let's take one more breath like that. And then come to center. Sitting nice and tall here. So instead of having the heels aligned, take the soles of the feet together. Keep the four corners of the feet engaged into each other. Here, pull the heels in toward the groin, wherever they go. Hang on to your ankles rather than your feet. And then you can kind of pull to help yourself sit up a little taller here. So this might be plenty of stretch. Allow your knees to just fall open. If you want a little bit more, you can use your elbows at your inner hips. Use the elbows to press down. And then if you still want a little bit more, you can hinge forward a bit here. Find the amount of stretch that you need. And the one nice thing about practicing without everyone else there is that you don't necessarily feel like you have to compete with anyone, or you're not looking off of your mat to see where you should be. Let's take one more big breath here. And then with an inhale, bring yourself back up again. We're going to extend the legs straight out. So if you are still seated up on a cushion, just make sure you keep a little bend in your knees here. It's really easy to hyperextend if your hips are still high here. So just watch the knees, of course, sitting up nice and tall. If you feel at some point that you have to readjust your seat, then certainly do. Belly's in, spine is tall. We're going to reach the arms up. And from here, hinge forward. Hinging from the hip, not the waist. Let your hands fall where they fall. So that may or may not be your feet. Don't worry about it either way. And then kind of connect your body to your breath. That's what we're trying to do here. So inhale, lifting up out of the fold a little bit. Let it fill into your belly so you naturally kind of lift up a little. And then as you exhale, maybe you can fall a little bit deeper into the stretch. So just a little bit of in and out like that. It can be big movements, like you're riding a really big wave, or smaller. You decide. Again, finding the amount of stretch that's where you want to be. Maybe after a few breaths, you've been able to work your way into a little bit deeper stretch. Go ahead and hold that deeper stretch for just a breath or two. With your next inhale, let's go ahead and come back up again. And then release the arms. Let's open the feet out into a straddle position. So whatever straddle means for you, we want to feel a stretch in the inner hip, inner hamstrings. Right? Again, sitting up really tall on your seat. So you can absolutely be propped up, keep a little bend in your knees if that's you, sitting tall. So let's go ahead and take the arms up. We're going to rotate the belly around toward the right leg here, and then fold over the right leg. Let your hands fall to either side of the leg. Don't worry about touching your toes. Check in with the pelvis. Make sure you're upright. Your spine is really tall. The shoulders are down and back, so we don't want to reach and round the back. You can move a little bit deeper into the pose. If you press harder into your right hand, you can kind of steer your belly button more toward the thigh or the floor. And maybe this left shoulder drops around a bit. Let's go ahead and inhale, bring yourself back up to the middle. Rotate to the left and do the exact same thing here. So folding over this left leg, checking in with the pelvis, checking in with the spine. Keep the chest open and lifting. And then if you're ready for a little bit more, press harder into your left hand so your body rotates more square to the leg. And on the next breath, on the inhale, come on up again. Release the arms back to center. Let's take the let's take the right hand and pin it up underneath your left thigh. We're going to reach up with the right hand and tip over to the right. So if you can work your elbow to the inner thigh here, get something to press against, right? If you can touch the floor, touch the floor. If not, don't worry. So the pelvis is still upright, the spine is really tall. And then you can press against the inner thigh here to draw this left shoulder back. And instead of rotating your belly button toward the floor, imagine rotating it toward the ceiling. Feel that awesome stretch up the left side. Big full breaths here. With your next inhale, make your way back up again. Switch sides. Take that left hand, pin it up underneath the right thigh, just for a little bit of leverage there. Reach the right arm up, and we're going to hinge over to the left. So again, if you can bring your elbow more to your inner thigh or to the mat, wherever it goes. And then press against it, rotating the belly, the shoulder, maybe looking up. You can always make this less intense by eliminating the arm, but you're still getting this stretch up the side of the body, right? Let's take one more breath. With an inhale, we're going to make our way back up. And then release both hands to the center. Check in with your pelvis, check in with your spine, nice and tall. And then how about just coming forward? Wherever forward is. If you feel like your hands have to reach somewhere, let them reach out toward your toes rather than forward. And we want to avoid rounding through the back. Big full breaths. And just like when the legs were together out front, notice that little maybe rise and fall with the breath here. After a couple exhalations, can you move a little deeper? See what happens. We'll take one more breath here. And then inhale to hinge back up. And bring the legs back around front. So wiggle them around a little bit. Sometimes they get stuck in those weird places. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bring yourself around onto hands and knees. And as always here, if you feel like you need to cushion your wrists or your hands, really not just your wrist, or your knees, feel free to do that. Not super cushiony, you don't want them to sink, but if it's unpleasant, you can always give a little extra TLC. So shoulders over wrists, four corners of the hands, even into the mat, especially that index knuckle, push it down. And then either the hands a handprint forward of that or the knees a knee print back, depending on where you are on the mat. We're going to shift into a kneeling plank. So check in, four corners of the hands, shoulders are neutral on the back. We don't want to sag through, we don't want to push away, we don't want the shoulders eating our ears. Find the middle. Notice how your belly has to stay engaged here to protect your back. If you need knees, leave knees on the mat. Otherwise, let's lift the knees up off the floor, press through the heels. Extending out the crown of the head, make sure you're breathing here. Check in with those shoulders. And then let's go ahead and lift the hips, make your way to down dog. Move and stretch and wiggle here as much as you need. So feet are hip bone distance apart. Hands are still nice and even into the mat. Go ahead and press your chest back toward your thighs, lifting your hips. Sink into your heels, but don't worry about them touching the floor. Let your head just hang between your arms here. And then keep everything else that as you have it, lift your right leg. Take it straight back. Don't worry about high, keeping the hips level for now. Push through your heels. See if you can get a little deeper into that left heel. Let's open the right hip, take the toes higher, and then bend at the knee and point it kind of toward the ceiling. Keep your shoulders level and just let the hip open. Press through that left heel, make sure you're breathing. And then release that side. Switching to the second side, so go ahead and lift the left leg. Again, starting with the hips level. Press out through your heels, extend here. Allow the hip to open, take the toes a little higher, and bend at the knee. Shoulders stay level. And then we'll release that. So go ahead and drop down to your knees. We'll sit back into a child's pose for a moment. Give your arms, your hands a break here. And remember, with your child's pose, your hands can be back by your heels or extended forward. The knees can be closer to or further apart. Just find where is the most comfortable place for you right at this moment. Big full breaths wherever you are. And then we're going to lift back into down dog. Go ahead and lift your right leg again. This time, let's step the foot through to the hands and come to a lunge. Dropping the back knee. Work your toes all the way up to the top of the mat here, knee and ankle stacked. Take the right leg straight. So we've warmed the hamstring, and maybe this isn't quite as much of a stretch here. So you're going to have to add something, of course, to make it that stretch. You can flex your foot back. Keep the knee soft, but maybe press down into the heel. Got a little extra. You can make a deeper fold if that's you. And then bend back into the knee. Allow your hips to sink. We want to lift out the chest, extending out the crown of the head. Leave the hips nice and low. And if the hands need to stay on the floor, let them. Otherwise, see about climbing up on the thigh here and lifting the upper body a bit more vertical. You can push the hands into the leg so the chest lifts more. And you can leave your hands here, or we can extend, reaching up toward the ceiling. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Big full breaths. And then come on back down. Make your way back to your down dog. And then we're switching sides. So lift the left leg. If you need some momentum, certainly use it. We're going to step that foot up to the hands. Lunging. Right knee on the mat. Toes up to the top, don't forget. Take that left leg straight. Or straight-ish. Soft knee. Finding the stretch in the hamstring with whatever you have to add. Remember to avoid rounding through your spine here. So if you have a block, you can absolutely prop up on the block here if you need. We'll bend back into the knee. Let the hips shift. Sink into the hips as much as you can. Try to stay really stable, so we don't want to be sliding off to one side or dropping into the other, right? Nice and stable. So the fingers down on the mat, up on the thigh. Just bringing the upper body as vertical and maybe a little bit beyond vertical, as much as you can. And then the hands stay down or they reach up. We'll take another big breath and then release it. Make your way back to down dog. And from down dog here, let's walk the feet forward and come into a standing fold. So the feet up underneath the hip bones, toes point forward, even weight on the four corners of your feet, always, always. And the legs straight or a little bit bent here if that's you. Let yourself just kind of relax into this for a moment. And then let's firm it up. So push down into the four corners of the feet, taking the legs straight even if you don't touch your toes. Slide your hands up to your thighs here, inhale. Shoulders are gonna go back, hopefully. And then lift yourself into a half fold, so your body's parallel-ish to the floor. This might be a lot like a full fold for you, maybe. Make sure the belly's pulled in. You can be leaning on the legs as much as you need. Try and keep your hips over your ankles. Temptation is sort of leaning back. We want to stay centered. And then hinging from the hips, simply come all the way up. All right. So here, take your hands on either side of your lower back just to support, of course. Make sure your feet are still nice and even into the mat. We're going to hug our elbows toward each other. Draw the shoulder blades toward each other on the back. And think lifting the chest up toward the ceiling. So we're creating space and we're moving into this little back bend. And you can make this back bend bigger if you like. Just make sure everything feels long. No pinching. You can breathe. You can maybe even breathe better here. Your chest is really crazy, nice and open, right? Let's take one more breath. And then we're gonna lift back to center. Release the hands. Take the hands back to the thighs. We're gonna move back over into that half fold place. So just give yourself a little second. Your back needs a minute, right? Lean as much as you need to lean. And then hinging, same idea, back up to standing. Just hinging at the hip to come up and down. So from here, go ahead and take a nice big step back with the right foot. And we're gonna straddle on the mat. Turning your toes out to the corners just a little bit. Take a little bend into the knees. Make sure your knees and toes are tracking in the same direction. A lot of times the knees will fall in. We don't want that. Or the toes are pointing in and the knees are moving out. Just kind of check it out. You want to be able to see your toes and the knees and toes are in the same place. Same direction, not the same place. Take the legs straight down once you have that. And then we're gonna move with the breath here. So 4 corners of the feet, extending the arms up so that your body looks kind of like an X. Yeah. Follow your breath here. Exhale, bend the knees. Tip from the hips, brushing your mat. Inhale, come back up again. And then squat, hands come to center. So lifting up, inhale. Exhale, brush your mat. Back up again. And into that squat. So just moving the hips in those directions. So inhale, as you brush the mat, let your bottom stick out behind you. But then as you squat, tuck it under. And maybe you can move a little deeper into your legs. You may want to check and just make sure that you can still see your toes. Take one more flow. When you get to the squat, hold it. Check in, make sure you still see your toes, your knees are still pointing in the same direction. Maybe you can drop deeper into your legs. Keep the chest lifted, shoulders over hips. If your legs are screaming at you, they're screaming at you, listen. If they're just giving you a little trouble, press your palms into each other and see if you can forget about the thighs shaking so much for a moment. Let's inhale, stretch to the ceiling. And release the arms. So here, go ahead and turn your right toes in a little bit and your left toes toward the top of your mat. Go ahead and bend into the left knee. Make sure you see the left big toe beyond your knee. Extending the arms for warrior 2. Reaching through the middle fingers, sinking deeper into the legs if you can. Always look for your big toe so you know your knee is not moving out of place. Out of alignment, not out of place. Let's take this left leg straight. And then we'll reach forward over the toes. Let your left hand fall and your right hand lift. Lean with the hand on the leg if you need to. Otherwise, it just sort of dangles down from the shoulder. Releasing that, let's come over into a lunge. Come up on the back toe so that right hip comes forward. You can drop the back knee here if you'd like. Take the left leg straight. Pressing through the hip, allow the right hip to come forward so the hips are nice and square, feeling this little bit different stretch. And if it's not enough, just like before, you can always add things on. So maybe having the knee up off the floor is enough. You can flex the foot back. You might even want to walk your hands back so that the belly comes more toward the left thigh. You decide. So then we're going to bend back into the knee. Go ahead and drop the right knee here, even if you hadn't had it dropped before. I'm going to wiggle just a second here and get my stuff locked on. And here, we're going to keep the hips nice and low, but square. So we don't want to be sliding over one side or the other. See about taking your left leg straighter. It does not have to go straight. This is what the block is for. You can prop it up underneath the front leg or the back leg. You can use it up underneath your hands. Let your chest open and lift. Let your shoulders relax. You're breathing, right? Breathe. And then wiggle back into your lunge. And I say wiggle because unless you've got crazy core strength, it might mess up your mat, whatever, right? So lift the back knee. We're going to take the block with us and move into the straddle. So just letting yourself kind of hang over here. Make sure your toes are pointing forward. You feel nice and even on your feet. If you want a little bend in your knees, let yourself just absolutely hang and relax here. So taking your block with you, we're gonna move to the second side. So turn your right toes toward the back of your mat, turn your left toes in a little bit. Bending into your right knee, bring the upper body up, and your legs should be like we want them to be for warrior two. So if they're a little too narrow or too wide or whatever, make the adjustment, right? You can see your big toe. Extend the arms. Shoulders over hips, stretching through your fingertips. Take the right leg straight. Reach forward over your right toes, and then let your right hand fall and your left hand lift. Lean on the leg if you need. Make sure your belly's pulled in, supporting your back. Big, full breaths. Release it, come over into lunge. So the left hip is coming forward. The left knee can be on the mat if you need it. Let's take that right leg straight. So find the amount of stretch here. So again, maybe it's just a straight leg. Maybe the left knee still needs to be on the floor. I'm gonna turn around just so I'm facing away. Prop if you need to prop, certainly. And then let's bend back into the knee. Go ahead and drop the left knee to the floor. And then walk your right toes forward. So they go wherever they go. You prop wherever you need to prop, if you have a prop, right? Otherwise, you're probably leaning pretty heavily on your hands, and that's all right. Totally fine. Keeping the chest lifted. Relax into your shoulders. Let your legs sink. Soft right knee here for sure. And then let's wiggle on out of that, back into the lunge. Again, let it mess up your mat if it does. And then we're gonna take the hands and walk back around into the center of your straddle. So starting by just letting yourself hang. So if you want that little bend in your knees, bend into your knees. You can grab your opposite elbow, let your upper body just hang here. And then making sure your toes point forward. If your knees need to be bent, let them be bent. Take your index and middle fingers, we're gonna wrap them around the big toes. Stay even on your feet, try not to rock into your heels or to the outsides. Then the elbows out to the sides, and you can maybe even add a little pull, and imagine drawing your belly button between your legs. Release the toes, and then take the fingers to interlace behind the lower back. Pull the shoulder blades toward each other, stretching your hands away from your shoulders. See if you can feel your shoulders move away from your ears. The chest is open. And then release the hands. So here, bring your feet in so that they're just wider than your shoulders. And you can change them a little wider, a little bit more narrow as we go here. So bending into the knees as much or as little as you'd like. Bring your hands between your feet. Yeah. then keep that idea and see if you can take your hands back behind your heels. And you can bend and wiggle and as much as you need, right? Can you bring your hands then from behind your feet up and over the tops of your feet? Maybe yes, maybe no. The legs can be more bent, more straight. You can drop into your hips a little bit deeper if that's you. You're still breathing, right? You feel like a pretzel yet? And then let's release all of that. So come on down to your hands and knees and turn the face back toward the top of your mat. Go ahead and drop back into a child's pose. So if you haven't had any fun yet, this is where it's going to start. So let's grab that pillow if you have a pillow. If you don't need one, don't worry. If you don't have one, don't worry. This is more of a, it's a safety net for your brain. Makes this a little bit maybe more comfortable, right? So we're going to take the hands shoulder width apart just like we had them before. Four corners of the hands on the mat. From here, walk your feet behind your hands. So that's easy compared to where we just were, right? So bending your knees or whatever you need to do here. I need to come up on my tiptoes to get my knees there, but do what you need to do here to bring your knees in toward the backs of your armpits, really, right? So your shins will sort of make contact with your triceps, yeah? From there, if you start to bend your elbows or your triceps become like a shelf for your shins. You feeling that? You can just shift the body weight forward, totally fine. That's what the pillow's for, right? If you're feeling it, pick one foot up off the floor. And you can switch. Try to switch. If you're really feeling it, no fear, right? Lift both feet up off the floor. So play with that just a little bit. Come in, come out. It's a lot of weight for your wrists to handle, so do what you need to do for that. Play back and forth just for a couple more breaths, see what happens there. I wish I could see you. This is a bummer. So take another breath and then come on down. You can move that pillow out of the way or you can use it if you need it, right? Sitting back into a child's pose. Let's start with the shoulders. So just take your hands back by your heels. Let your shoulders come forward. Rest your arms. And then we're going to make our wrists happy again. Right? So like I said, that's a lot of body weight for the wrists to bear. So come on up onto your hands and knees. Sorry. Only instead of having your fingers point forward, as much as you can, turn them to point back toward your knee, maybe no way. Mm-hmm. So you can have your knees a little closer to your fingers. That makes it a little bit less intense or a little bit further away. We want to keep the elbows soft. So if you're a hyperextender, try not to let your elbows point or poke forward. And you can even shift your hips back toward your heels a little bit to find a bit deeper stretch in the wrist. Again, listen to what your body needs from you. Now let's gently release that. We're going to pick the hands up and we're going to put the back of the hand flat on the floor with the fingers pointing toward each other, wrists underneath the shoulders. If it feels good, you can lean on your hands a little bit. Don't go too crazy. Let your fingers spread really wide. See if you can get the whole hand flat on the floor. And then lay the hand flat on the floor. Can you curl your fingers in and make a fist? Pull them in as tight as you can get them. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And it's easier if the elbows bend a bunch, so try not to bend them too much. Spread the fingers really wide. And then quickly, really tight fist, really wide hand. Back and forth a bunch of times. And I would say 10, but I never end up counting anyway, so a bunch. End with a really wide hand. And then gently pick up your hands. Place your fingers on the floor. So this always gives us a little bit of trouble, right? So you want the fingerprint, the thing that leaves the smudge on the window, you want that on the floor. And then you're gonna bend the first knuckle back, and then the next knuckle forward, and then the heel of the hand, the palm of the hand, is gonna be up off the floor. Imagine pulling like you're gonna pull the mat up underneath your hand. And all of those little joints are bent. And sometimes they don't want to cooperate. So just work at that. You can put a little bit of body weight in there if you're feeling fancy. You can do push-up, fingertip push-ups if you're feeling really fancy. And then just gently lift your hands up off the floor. You can sit back on your heels or you can sit on your bottom. This is not important. Roll your wrists gently in both directions. And then you can flop them back and forth a little bit. And then my favorite part, shake them out. So let's release that. We're going to bring the legs around front again. Extend them out nice and long. Take your inner thigh rotation, of course, so that you're upright on your pelvis. Sitting nice and tall, shoulders down and back. Let's reach the arms up, hinge forward, and come into a fold. So the hamstring should be pretty darn warm. See if your fold is deeper than it was when we started. Hopefully, yes. Taking another nice big breath. With your inhale, bringing it back up again, and then releasing the arms. So let's take the feet flat. We want to hang on to the hamstrings here. Scoot back enough on your mat so that you'll have some place to roll back to. And make sure if you have a block or a pillow, make sure it's accessible to you when you get on the floor. If you don't have anything, don't panic, it's optional, right? So we want to, from here, take the arms almost straight. Lift your chest, shoulders down and back, feel your belly, right? Keep that going, maybe just lift your toes up off the floor. You can take your shins parallel to the floor. You can extend your legs straight. You can hang on for dear life or let go in any one of those places. So you're just gonna find a place where it's enough work that you shake a little bit. And you wish for me to stop talking. We'll bring the soles of the feet together. Hang on to your ankles. And instead of lifting the chest, go ahead and roll back, dropping down to your back. So the soles of the feet are going to stay together. We're going to take them to the floor. Let the knees relax out to the sides here. And then let's gently bring the knees back together. And we'll hug the knees into the chest and knock a little bit. Go ahead and take your feet flat to the floor. And we want to keep those feet hip bone distance apart. So not too wide, not too narrow. And the knees, hips, and ankles are in the same plane. Now you can't actually see your feet, I don't think, anyway. Probably not, right? But you know whether they're falling out to the sides or whatever, right? So keep them nice and even here. We're going to start anyway, with the arms nice and tight down the sides of the body. Make sure your neck and head stay comfortable. We don't want the neck to touch the floor here, just the back of the head. Press down into your triceps, pull your heels toward your hips, go ahead and lift your hips away from the floor, keeping the tailbone tucking toward the knees so that the lower back is happy about this. And you can stay here. It does not have to be any fancier than this. If you like, you can take your fingers and interlace behind the lower back. Let your shoulders pull together and get a little lift there. You can tuck your tailbone more toward your knees, lift into your hips a little higher if you want to play with that. If you have a prop, you can take your prop and place it underneath your pelvis, right? So it's the sacrum, the flat part right before your bum starts. So if you feel like your butt's hanging off the edge or your tailbone is rotating too much toward the ceiling, you're going to want to maneuver until you can rest the pelvis on the block or the pillow, or hang out for a little bit longer until you can't take it anymore. This is just a really nice place to rest. So if you can rest here, then definitely do. If you're still working for it, you're still working for it. You can come in and out. You can take variations if that's you. So go ahead and take one more breath wherever you are. And then we're going to release everything, dropping the pelvis back down to the floor. Take a second here in this neutral position. And then we'll draw the knees back into the chest and rock again. So bringing the feet flat to the floor. Let's cross the left ankle over the right knee, and then reach back behind the right thigh here and interlace the fingers. Keeping the feet flexed, the knee as open as it can be, we're going to pull the right leg in toward the chest. Notice how your body likes to round up to make this happen. See if you can stay rather flat. And you're not technically flat back there, but that's the idea. We're going to keep the arm pulling in and then use the leg to push back into the hands. So push and pull. Make it enough so that it's a little bit of work. And then we're going to release it, but keep the legs crossed like they are. Allow the arms to open out into a T position, and we're going to drop the legs over to the right. So your left foot may come flat to the floor. Your left knee may point up toward the ceiling. You can let it fall more toward the mat or the floor. Maybe looking over the left fingertips. Let's take another nice big breath here. And then come on back up. Uncross the legs and we'll go to the second side. So right ankle over left knee. Keeping the feet flexed, reach back behind the left thigh. Keeping the right knee open, pulling the left leg in. Allow the body to do what it needs to do here, but notice if it is rounding up. And at the same time, see if you can kind of flatten it out again. And then push and pull. Adding just that little bit of work. And then we're going to release the foot, keeping the legs crossed. Open the arms out into your T position and drop the knees to the left. So again, you decide where exactly this right leg is. And the knee can be more open or it can fall more toward the floor. One more nice big breath. And then gently releasing that, make your way back up to the middle. Uncross your legs. And one more time, draw the knees into the chest. Let yourself rock. Squeezing the knees in as tight to the chest as you can get. Pull your forehead towards your knees, let your spine round up. And release it into a full body stretch. Fingertips to toes, use every muscle. And then release it. Let your arms come back down by your sides. You've got props, maybe, right? So you can absolutely use your props to make your body more comfortable here on the mat. So laying flat, maybe taking the feet flat to the floor if you prefer, propping in one manner or another. If the seated meditation is better for you today, then certainly use that. Allow your body to be comfortable where you are. Turning the awareness back solely to your breath. The body is done for a little while. See if you can stay focused on your breath, allowing it to flow as it naturally does. You don't have to change or do anything with it. Keeping your mind quiet and present. Just allow yourself a few minutes to simply rest here. Remember, if there's nothing else to do and nowhere else to go anyway, you can always stay here longer. And when you're ready, keeping your eyes closed and your mind quiet, allow your body to wiggle and stretch. Gently bring the feet flat to the floor. Slowly roll yourself off to the side. Very gently make your way back to seated. Sitting tall. Let's bring the palms to touch. Bowing your head to your heart. From my heart to yours. Namaste. Thanks so much for playing today, you guys. I miss you. I have no idea what's going on at the gyms or anything like that. So until further notice, we are here. I will try to keep reminding you guys through emails and updates here on the sites. If you have any feedback or anything, or if you just want to say hi, reach out for sure. Like I said earlier, I miss you guys a lot. I miss seeing your faces. So have a great day. If, like I say, if there's any way I can help you, certainly give me a shout. Bye, guys. Happy Saturday.